The door clicked shut, and for the first time in his life, the silence belonged only to Akito. He stood in the center of his new, tiny apartment, surrounded by a mountain of cardboard boxes. The air smelled like fresh paint and possibilities. He squeezed the silver key in his palm, feeling the weight of his own world resting in his pocket. Being an adult, Akito soon discovered, involved a lot of things his parents had always made look easy. The first morning, he decided to fry an egg. But the heat was too high, the oil popped like tiny fireworks, and the yolk broke into a yellow puddle. He stared at the burnt remains, realizing that independence came with a side of scorched breakfast. College felt like a vast ocean, and Akito was a very small boat. In the great lecture hall, the professor's voice echoed off the high ceilings. He scribbled notes until his wrist ached, trying to catch every word. He felt like he was constantly running to keep up with a clock that never stopped ticking. One afternoon in the library, Akito found himself lost in the labyrinth of the architecture section. He reached for a heavy textbook on a high shelf, but it was just out of his grasp. A hand reached over his shoulder and easily slid the book out. It was Ren, an upperclassman who seemed to navigate the world with a quiet, steady confidence. "The trick is not to overfill it," Ren said a few days later, showing Akito how to navigate the hum of the campus laundromat. They watched the soapy water swirl behind the glass doors. Akito realized that everyone was learning too. Everyone was just at a different chapter of the same book. When evening fell, the shadows in the apartment grew long. Akito sat on his floor, eating a sandwich in the dark because he hadn't figured out how to change the overhead bulb yet. He pulled a photo from his bag, a picture of his family and their old dog. For a moment, the silence of the room felt a little too heavy. The next day, Akito decided that silence didn't have to be lonely. He bought a small, green succulent and placed it on the windowsill. He hung a poster of a starry sky over his bed. Slowly, the apartment began to feel like home. He was no longer just a guest in a room. He was the creator of his own space. Dinner that night was different. He chopped the onions carefully, timed the noodles perfectly, and added a soft-boiled egg that didn't break. As he took the first bite of his homemade ramen, he realized that the taste of something you made yourself was the most rewarding flavor in the world. Walking across campus the next morning, the air felt crisp and clear. He saw Ren near the fountain and raised his hand in a confident wave. He wasn't the same person who had stood nervously in an empty room a week ago. He was a student, a cook, a decorator, and most importantly, himself. As the sun set over the city, Akito sat on his small balcony, watching the lights flicker on like fallen stars. He still had a lot to learn, and there would be many more broken eggs and long nights. But as he turned the key in his mind, he knew he was finally exactly where he belonged.